CCTV 101, Installation Application Guidelines, IP Accessories and Tips. IP cabling, or Ethernet cabling, is limited to 100 meters in distance or 328 feet. That is the TIA standards, telecommunication industry standards, for any Ethernet. When running POE or Power over Ethernet over the Cat5e or Cat6 cable at the same time, those POE wattages will be POE at 15.4 watts or up to 15.4 watts, POE plus up to 30 watts, our new POE plus plus coming down the line is going to be up to 60 watts or quite possibly more. Why do you need power over Ethernet? Well, to power your device, whether it's a camera that has IR, PTZ, or heater, you may need POE plus for some of those extra features, but they can also be used to power access points for wireless and other types of items as well. So as much as TIA standards tells you can only go 328 feet, there are products like this ASCO box that can double that distance for POE and for IP. So taking 328 feet of cable to one side of the box, another 328 feet of cable after the box to double your distance, mid-span. And ASCO actually sells converters where you can actually run IP and POE over legacy coax cabling as well. So if you have an older building or a hospital or something that has asbestos ceilings and you don't want to have to rewire and put in new cables, this is a perfect option to use that old existing cabling and run your IP POE cameras over using these extenders converters. POE switches. Beware when you're looking at POE switches at the total wattage of the POE switch. A lot of POE switches are being sold as, say, an 8-port, but there's only 35 watts in the total switch. So make sure all your ports are up to 15 watts and judge your load of what your items you're going to be plugging in, the power you're going to need, and the total wattage of the POE switch. ASCO POE switches are full wattage in all ports on their 4 and 8 channel POE switches. POE injectors are available. These are essentially, you plug it into a wall outlet, plug in your IP cabling on one side, and out on the other off to your device, and that will inject POE into that actual cable and run it off to that device for that access point or camera or whatever it might be. A lot of cameras today have slots for mini SD cards or micro SD cards, and beware of these. You want to use anything that's class 10 and above with high rewrite ability, because these are constantly rewriting. We want to make sure that we can have something that's going to last, and class 10 is going to make sure there's enough speed to handle all those rewrites. So use ASCO micro SD cards for those applications. A few cameras you'll find do have speakers and or mics built into them, but often do not come with those connections, or just have the actual connections themselves. If you're going to do audio, ASCO does sell microphones and speakers separately, as well as the decals to promote that, and allowing you to do whatever application you may need with audio. And beware of possible laws in those areas too that make you post it or may be illegal. Remote motorized varifocal. So typically in cameras we have fixed cameras with a fixed field of view, and some have varifocal, which allows us to actually change that. Motorized varifocal means we can do it remotely. We can change that remote focus, so the field of view, and of course, or I guess the zoom, and then of course the focus based on that field of view and that zoom can be changed as well. So motorized varifocal is a great feature. Getting into resolution, we're seeing cameras, of course, more popular in 720p and 1080p today, and 4K becoming more talked about and more evident. And the benefit of this is when we're trying to zoom in after the fact, 4K has 4 times the amount of pixels, so it allows us to zoom in afterwards and look a couple blocks and see a street sign or a license plate or other detail we might be looking for. And as much as we may be looking at camera resolution, it's always important to look at what your recording resolution is. So even if you have a 4K camera or a 1080p camera, if you're recording at D1 resolution, that's what you're going to get recorded at. So make sure you adjust your settings within your recording devices appropriately. Using lighting and IR illuminators. IR illuminators are essentially security floodlights. These are non-visible light waves that we end up seeing, but in a lot of cameras when you look up at them, you can see a red glow, and that's an IR illuminator built in, typically at 850 nanometer. So using these is a great way to get extra light or extra distance of light or cover more area with your cameras. And of course, there's an 850 nanometer and 940 nanometer versions of the ASCO IR illuminators. 850 nanometer gives you that glow. The 940 nanometer will be completely covert for covert applications. And keep in mind, always choosing the correct field of view that you want to cover with your camera. And typically mounting these 2 to 3 feet away from your actual camera will attract the bugs to the IR illuminator, not in front of the camera lens. So definitely advantageous in doing that as well. And so most cameras themselves do come with 850 nanometer, and of course the IR illuminators from ASCO are available in 850 nanometer or 940 nanometer. There are different sizes, lengths, and widths that you're going to end up seeing for these IR illuminators, and check the catalog from ASCO for more information. And of course there's surge protection. Surges don't just come through electrical outlets. They can come through coax, through cameras that are on poles, or any other devices, etc. So there are ASCO surge protection devices for BNCs, for PTZs, for NVRs, DVRs, rack mount versions, low voltage, line voltage, and even HDMI surge protectors. Wide variety. Make sure you're always posting signage and decals wherever you're putting up your cameras. A lot of bylaws and laws require you to do so legally, and of course they are sold through ASCO, and you can get a wide variety of different signs and decals to cover the premises at every entry and exit point to warn people that they are under surveillance. When installing cameras in areas with a lot of humidity, you might want to look at using these little mini silica packs. They're about the size of a nickel, and they hide up inside the camera perfectly to pull the moisture off the lens for when you're installing those humid installations. And because they're Tyvek packs, they won't deteriorate like a paper silica pack, leaving beads in the bottom of the dome for long-lasting applications. So definitely an item to look at. And of course, when you're installing, having an installation tool that can test your IP, provide the POE to power the camera, 7-inch touchscreen, TVI, MPX, HD, PTZ, and analog testing. This is a great test tool that really every installer that's installing IP cameras and NVRs should have. Really easy to use, it comes with a case, and it's just touchscreen. It even has a flashlight built in for your techs. They can even put an SD card in there with music and listen to it off headphones if they want. They can record video on it. Lots of different things you can do with it. When you're choosing your products you're going to be working with, make sure you check the specs. So when you're looking at your NVR, look at the frame rate you need, the resolution, the channels, the apps, mounting, everything you need for every type of application. But think your application through and choose the right products ahead of time, so you're not trying to fumble around and trying to band-aid something afterwards. So check the specs, make sure you have the right product for the right application. Something as simple as cold temperature cameras can make a huge difference in your installation depending where you're installing it. Thank you from WestRep Solutions.